Welcome to the Tristan Law Show. If it's your first time here, welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. I'm Tristan Law, semi-retired pro wrestler, and I'm your host. Today we're peeling back the layers on Hulk Hogan's greatest hits, and we're not talking about his in-ring moves because we'd only need an 8-second video for that. The Hulkster's got some legendary stories, and let's just say facts might not always be his tag team partner. Today we're diving into claims so wild they'll make you wonder if Hulk Hogan smoked crack in the 80s. Think Elvis, rock bands, and world champion boxers. All mysteriously in awe of Hulk. Sounds outrageous and slightly interesting? Well, just wait. By the end of today's episode, you might just crown Hogan pro wrestling's undisputed champion of Tall Tales brother. All right, let's kick things off with our first Tall Tale, and this one, it's a big doozy. Straight from the pages of Hogan's own autobiography, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, he writes that the king of rock and roll himself, Elvis Presley, was a diehard Hulkamaniac. According to the Hulkster, Elvis wasn't just a fan, he was showing up ringside at Memphis cheering him on, saying his prayers and eating his vitamins. But here's the twist. Elvis passed away August 16th, 1977. A solid 2 years before Hogan even made his debut in Memphis, Tennessee. In fact, Hogan had his first match just 6 days before Elvis' death on August 10th, 1977 in Fort Myers, Florida. So unless Elvis had a time-traveling DeLorean, there's no way he was making trips to see the Hulkster wrestle. To be fair though, Elvis was a known wrestling fan, and rumor has it that he even considered a match with Memphis' own Jerry the King Lawler before he passed away. So yes, there's some truth to Elvis being into wrestling, but he definitely wasn't sitting ringside for Hogan. So now, whether Hogan's memory is foggier than a London morning or he just added a little Hollywood sprinkle to his story, this one is pure fantasy. Sorry, Hulk. The lie detector has determined that this one is a lie. The king of rock and roll missed your debut, but we'll give you credit for creating one memorable story for the Hulkamaniac Hall of Fame of things that never happened. If you like what I'm doing, please subscribe. It's the biggest compliment you can give me. I'm here Tuesdays and Fridays, live at noon Eastern time, here on YouTube. Please don't miss a moment. Now, here's a rock and roll tale that could only come from the mind of Hulk Hogan. Picture this. Metallica's breaking into the music scene. Hogan is riding the wave of AWA fame, and according to Hogan himself, they're about to make beautiful music together. Apparently, the Hulkster sent in tapes to audition as Metallica's bassist. Yep, the same Hulk Hogan we know and love, claiming that he was even tight with Metallica's drummer, Lars Ulrich. Hogan swears that he was this close to joining Metallica, but it just didn't work out. But here's where it gets interesting. When Metallica's lead vocalist, James Hetfield, heard this story years later, let's just say he had no clue what Hogan was talking about. And then, when Lars himself got asked by Howard Stern if Hogan's story was true, his reaction was, well, Hogan who? I would say Hulkster's Metallica moment might have been a solo act in his own mind, but sorry, Hulk. The lie detector test has determined that was a lie. But that doesn't stop him from weaving tales that'll leave you shaking your head. Speaking of which, let's move on to Hogan's next big story. Next up, we've got a tale that might just be Hogan's boldest stretch yet. Wait till you hear this one. According to the Hulkster himself, after Buster Douglas's legendary knockout of Mike Tyson, Hulk Hogan was the guy everyone was afraid of. So intimidating, in fact, that even Iron Mike Tyson himself didn't want to face him. Yep, Hogan basically claims that after the biggest upset in boxing history, Douglas, Tyson, and the entire boxing world were supposedly terrified of the idea of stepping into the ring with him. For the record, going into that legendary boxing match, Mike Tyson was world heavyweight champion with a 33-0 record, undefeated. Buster Douglas was 29-1. I don't think any fair juice pumped through the veins of any of those brothers. Now, here's where the story takes even a wilder turn. Hogan says Vince McMahon actually tried to set up a match between him and Tyson, and get this, that Hogan promised him that Tyson wouldn't try any funny business, right? Because Iron Mike Tyson would be too afraid of Hogan in a wrestling ring. Imagine the audacity of thinking Mike Tyson, a man who chewed through opponents, would suddenly freeze at the sight of Hulk Hogan? But look, this is Hulk Hogan's world. And in his mind, he's not just a wrestler. He's the guy that every boxer apparently feared. So while Mike Tyson's legacy went on to be solidified in the ring, it looks like Hulk Hogan was busy building his own fantasy. And I'm going to have to say, that one was a lie too. And this, my friends, is just one more entry into the long list of Hogan's tallest tales. But wait, there's more. This Friday at noon Eastern, we're talking about WWE's new WWE ID program, which will benefit pro wrestling as a whole. Subscribe and come back this Friday to learn everything you need to know about WWE ID. All right, this one's a classic Hogan tale. The famous WrestleMania 3 body slam heard around the world. According to the Hulkster, when he hoisted up Andre the Giant weighed a massive 600 pounds. Now, Andre was built closer to 5'20" in his prime, but hey, what's an extra 80 pounds when you're building a legend, right? It's all a part of the mystique of Hulk Hogan. But Hogan didn't stop there. He claims that this body slam was so monumental, it tore 18 muscles in Andre's back, and incredibly, that Andre died days later as a result. In reality, Andre took plenty of body slams before that WrestleMania match and lived for several years afterwards, passing away due to heart issues. But in true Hogan fashion, the story gets a bit of an epic upgrade. Now, Hogan has gone on to the record to say that Andre wasn't able to assist him in the lift. And here's where the story gets more interesting. Early on in the match, Hogan actually teased the slam as a part of the build-up to the finish. And when he first attempted to lift Andre, he struggled and fell beneath Andre's weight. It was a smart bit of in-ring storytelling, making it look like Andre was an unstoppable giant. The failed attempt raised the stakes, building suspense so that by the time Hogan actually hit the slam in the end, the crowd was losing their minds. Here's a little pro wrestling magic for you. In wrestling, most moves, especially big ones like the body slam, are assisted, meaning both wrestlers work together to make it happen. But here's Hulk claiming that he did it all by himself. No help at all from Andre, not even at the finish. But if you know where to look, Andre helped him. So not only does he give Andre an extra 80 pounds, but he makes the move sound like he's lifting a non-cooperative boulder. In Hogan's world, every story can use a little extra drama. And with this one, he gets to be the strong man lifting a mountain with no help, of course. But let's face it, that's just Hulk adding another 80 pounds to his legend. I'm going to say this one is semi-true because pro wrestlers, we exaggerate our height and weight all the time. Think about it. Who really buys a ticket to a pro wrestling show and brings a scale and tape measure with them? Hogan? I'll give you this one. All right, here's a Hogan classic that even the Undertaker himself couldn't bury. Back in the early days of The Undertaker, Mark Calloway went from a struggling WCW gimmick to WWE's dark, mysterious phenom, debuting in unforgettable style at Survivor Series 1990. Fast forward just 1 year later, and now he's facing Hulk Hogan for the WWE Championship. A huge moment for a young Taker and an opportunity to go down in history. Taker wins that match with the Tombstone Piledriver, his finishing move. But, of course, leave it to Hogan to turn it into a tale of injury and heroics. Hogan claimed that this very tombstone broke his neck. According to him, that night changed everything, with Hogan supposedly suffering from a serious neck injury from the move. But this is where things fall apart. When you look at the footage, Undertaker did a textbook job. Not only did Hogan's head not make contact with the mat, but Undertaker's skillful protection is obvious. Hogan's head never came close to danger at all, thanks to Taker's careful execution. In an interview years later with ESPN, The Undertaker finally set the record straight. He shared his side of the story, and it's a fascinating look to just how this injury claim took on a life of its own. According to The Undertaker, before the Survivor Series 1991 match, Hogan expressed nervousness about the tombstone because of an old neck injury. Taker assured him that he'd be protected and promised not to hurt him. All day long, Hogan made sure to remind Taker backstage by pointing at his neck, really driving home the idea that he needed special handling. All right. The match goes on. Taker delivers the tombstone, and immediately after, he hears Hulk Hogan groan in the ring. But if you look at the footage, you see that it's clear that Hogan's head is nowhere near the mat. Taker did an impeccable job at keeping Hulk Hogan safe. All right. So now after the match, Hogan heads backstage only to find Hogan selling the neck injury in Vince McMahon's office, making it sound as though he'd been actually dropped on his head during the match. Undertaker believed that the WWE title was being taken off of him because of Hogan's supposed injury. Taker thought that losing his first WWE championship because Hogan managed to convince McMahon that he could not be trusted to not hurt other people in the ring. Hogan's claims of a broken neck cast a shadow over The Undertaker's rising career and forced him to jump through hoops to prove his reliability despite the clear evidence that he'd done nothing wrong. Hogan's injury tale? Just another chapter in his book of embellishments. If you ask me, Hogan was trying to stay champion, and I'm going to have to say that that story was a lie. If you want to see more episodes like this, please subscribe. It's the biggest compliment to me and helps me grow this channel. In the past 30 days, I've had over 30 new people subscribe to The Tristan Law Show. So what are you waiting for? If you love pro wrestling and meeting the stars of today and tomorrow, this is the channel for you. All right, Hulkster, it's time to have a word, brother. You've got stories that stretch from here to eternity, and you've never let a pesky little thing like the truth get in the way, would you? Elvis Presley was cheering you on from beyond the grave. Metallica was dying to get you on base. And Iron Mike Tyson was shaking in his boots at the thought of squaring off with you, Hulkamania. Let's be honest. If the 24-inch pythons had anything to say about it, we'd probably hear that you were probably best friends with Abraham Lincoln too. I mean, we all love a good story, but Hogan doesn't just serve up stories. No. He's serving them up supersized, extra heavy, with a big side of bullcrap. He doesn't stop at making himself sound legendary. He's practically created his own fairy tale where he's the hero of every sport, every music genre, and every era known to man. Let me tell you, even Stephen King would say, whoa, that's not going to work for me, brother. But in all seriousness, Hulk, while you're out there body slamming reality and stacking stories higher than a landfill, we're here just trying to separate the fact from the fiction. And the end of it all, we still appreciate your contributions to pro wrestling, because what you gonna do when Hulk Hogan and his lies run wild on you? We're just gonna laugh and move on. Thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of the Tristan Law Show. Don't forget, if you like what I did, to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be back this Friday, live at noon, and we're going to be talking about the new WWE program, the WWE ID program, and what it means to the future of pro wrestling. Thanks so much for joining me today, and if you live in America and you haven't voted, make sure you go out and vote. I'm Tristan Law, this is the Tristan Law Show, and I'll see you next time.